Hello friends, this is Dr. Amarjit Kaur, Professor of Accounting and Business Communication at the Department of Management, Gurugram University, Gurugram. I am author of 58 research papers and have either authored or edited 10 books in total. And it's about 30 plus years of experience that I have been working in the food industry as well as in the education industry. It's my privilege that I am here with you to talk about job interviews. In this session today, I am going to give you few tips. The tips for how to excel in interviews, how to perform best in interviews. So I am going to talk about 20 tips in this session today. So friends, let's take the first 5 tips. Tips for job interviews. Number 1, research the company and interviewers. Practice your interview answers. Reread the job description. Use the STAR method, which we call as situation, task, action and results. And number 5, practice answering questions. So we will discuss these 5 points first, and then we will move to the next 15s later on. So the first tip is that we must, if we are appearing for interview, we must research the company and interviewers if you know them. For example, in most of the multinational company, they write to you that you know the name of the company in advance, that where are you appearing for, and they write to you that you will be interviewing with the head marketing of the product XYZ. So if you Google it on LinkedIn or anywhere else, you will be able to find the who is going to be the interviewer, right? So you can check his background, you can read that how much experience he has, what he's passionate about on LinkedIn, on Google or in journal somewhere. This will give you a leeway to lead the talk and gain few minutes for that cooling effect to make a general conversation before the real interview, right? And it established that you were interested in the job because you have researched about the company as well as interviewer. And when we say research the company, it is actually researching about the when did the company came in, or what all products it deals in, where is the head office, how many offices it has, how many countries it operates from. Then what is the vision statement of the company, what is the mission statement of the company, values of the company's latest achievements, number of employees. The more information or the knowledge you have about the company, it establishes that you are very serious about this role. And not only that, researching about the company and the interviewers is not enough. Unless you bring this knowledge which you have gained through research, it should be brought on the table. You should establish that you have researched, to establish the interest you have in the company, in that role you are trying to apply for, right? And if you really research very well about the interviewer, you will be able to think about the possible questions even. Because somebody, especially the technical roles, where somebody has worked on X software, Y software, X product development or X process development, you would have sense that there's a likelihood the most of the questions from that interviewer will come from this area. This will really help you to prepare further for your real answers. And then the second point was that you should be practicing your interview answers. For a few questions which are always very common, we should practice. We may stand in front of a friend, family member or a mirror. You should write down all the possible questions which you could foresee. You may be correct, you may not be. But at least you practice, at least you will be able to connect them, even those answers somewhere. Right? So you should practice your answers in front of your friend with the help of mentor, friend, family member or mirror, whatever works for you. And those questions should be very well framed. You can seek help from your mentor, that what are the possible questions for this kind of role. And believe me or not, nowadays we have so many questions available online for almost every kind of role, and their possible answers are also there. If you read them, I'm not asking you, or I'm not suggesting at all that you should be answering the same way it has been proposed online. No, every answer is yours. You should be able to connect it with your qualification, your passion, your interest, and the role you are applying for. But just to seek an insight, only for the purpose of seeking insight, you may like to refer online and jot down the questions and the answers available, and by going through those questions and answers, you can actually frame your answers well, not as it is, right? This is a question. The third point, as I said, is we should be rereading the job description. There's a likelihood that you applied for a job about 2 months ago, 4 months ago, you were busy in your current role, current job, in your exams maybe, and you really do not remember exactly what was advertised in the post. And there could be some question which just comes directly from that job description, right? So it's always suggested that anybody or everybody who is appearing for an interview must reread it, that what was the job description, how the job has been described in the advertisement you have applied, you are applied against. So this helps you to gather your thoughts before entering the interview room. You will be able to gather that this is the description of the job I am applied for, and this is the skill I have in the past, here, and you will gather all those skills and you will like to connect it. So this will be possible only if you know and remember the job description very well. The fourth point and the fourth tip, in fact, is always use the STAR method, which is situation. S stands for situation, T stands for think, A stands for action, and the R, the fourth letter in STAR, it stands for result. So always use the situation to describe something, the task if you have done, and the action you took against that task, in that task in that situation, and what were the results. So whenever you are talking, you should follow these four things. Whenever you quote something, some situation, some problem, some opportunity, see what was the real task that should be talked about, the action taken at your end, and the result is achieved by you. So this will make your presentation, the talk you are making or the answer you are giving, very objective, very well structured. So this will give you that edge, that you are considering the situation you are quoting, the task which was there in hand, the action taken, and the result, the outcome. So always use this STAR method to excel in interview. Then practice answering question. So not only the answers, you should also practice the questions. Don't ignore the questions as well, because read question. So if you will be reading question, you will be able to differentiate. There could be a smallest of the small difference between the questions raised by you or the questions you framed. It's not only to practice answers, but also practice answering. What if this question arises? Right? What if this question arises? And if I answer this, what would be the next question? Right? So you are actually propelling your mind to think about the possible questions. So this is what we say, what we call as practice answering questions. Now after this, I would like to talk about the next 5 points. Number 6, prepare a list of references. Number 7, be prepared with examples of your work. Number 8, prepare smart questions. Number 9, plan your interview attire the night before. Number 10, bring resume copies, a notebook and a pen. So let me explain these 5 points for you now. So one should always prepare a list of the references. I know that which company I am appearing for. If I know the interview, then try to figure out, is there anyone you have worked with, and the same guy has worked with your the possible interviewer in the interview room. So this will help you to connect, right? Or what should be my answer if somebody asks you that whom you have all worked with, who was your boss, who was your reporting officer. You should have those people on your tips, because you may not like to answer a wrong name, number one, and you may not like to quote some boss in the past or some reporting officer in the past you worked with whom you were not very good or who was not good with you, right? So always have a clear list of references in your mind, because this may arise any minute. So that's the 6th point. The 7th point is that always be prepared for quoting some good example. You may say that I am very enthusiastic, I am a good team worker. This your CV talks about that, your resume talks about that. Somebody just out of blue will ask you in the interview panel, can you establish it that how you are a good team worker? So whatever you write in your resume, you should be able to substantiate that claim of your resume with the help of some good example. So there was a project, we have 10 people in that project, there were 20 people, out of that 12 were women, 8 were men, gender diversity, out of those 20, 5 were from Asia, 6 were from America, 2 were from Latin America, so on, right? And we worked very well, and the outcome was this, we achieved the outcome before time, rather we exceeded the expectation. That tells your work, example tells your teamwork, that you are capable of teamwork. So this is exactly what I means. And also prepare some smart question. It's not that always you will be answering. They may ask you, or they may give you a chance that, do you have any question in mind? If they do not, even then you have the right to ask question. If you think something needed to be answered, for sure you need to have the answer to a particular question before you decide to join them or not. Be prepared for a question, but in a smart way, right? It's not only practicing answers to the questions the interviewer will raise. It is also to prepare smart questions as well. This is from your side, right? This was 8th point. The 9th point, as I said, was that you should really prepare your what will I wear tomorrow for my interview a night before. So you should be preparing a day in advance at least. So everything, including your tie, your shirt, your trouser, your sari, or whatever you are wearing, it should be well prepared in advance, should be kept aside a night before. It should not take your time on the day of interview, right? And then bring very small tip, very actual practical tip I am giving you. It's not difficult thing I am talking, but real tips. So you should always bring at least 2-3 copies in your hand, in your bag, a notebook to note something, a good working pen in your hand. There are people who just walk into the interview room without pen in hand, a notebook in hand, or maybe some notebook could be any device as well, but make sure you have copies of resume in your hand. So this was the point number 10. Now the point number 11 to 15. 11 is plan to arrive 10 to 15 minutes early. Number 12, make a great first impression. Number 13, treat everyone you encounter with respect. Number 14, win them over with authenticity and positivity. Number 15, respond truthfully to the questions asked. So number 11 says, the tip number 11 is that you should always reach at least 10 to 15 minutes advance. Had I been there, I would plan my arrival time at least half an hour before. Don't know, in India, in metro cities, the traffic conditions are very unpredictable, right? So you cannot take a chance here. So make sure you should reach quite good time in advance, depending on the city. If it is a small city, if you are staying very close by, you have just to walk to the interview, you are sure about the commuting time, then arriving 10-15 minutes advance is fine. But if you have to travel by train, road, or bike, or whichever way, metro, make sure you plan your arrival time quite well in advance. Then make a great first impression. Great first impression is that you are very well dressed up, you are very well, when you enter the room you make a smile on your face, and you actually are well dressed up, you walk straight, looking in the eyes of the interviews, looking at everyone, not at one person, and holding your bag in a straight, or if you are holding your bag straight in straight position, and very well dressed up, your hair are well combed, well tied up. So make that first impression very well, and the most important thing in the impression is to have a smile on the face. When you enter in the room, you should actually carry a smile. You should sound confident, you should really look confident, you should look positive in your, you should not be looking as very critical, very difficult guy. Be smart, be positive, be having a smile on your face. That's the first impression to be made as. Then point number 13 was that you should treat everyone, whomsoever, with respect. It could be the office boy, the receptionist, the gatekeeper. You never know who amongst them is a psychologist. There are companies who are actually deploying people even at the waiting counter, the waiting area. There are people who are just deployed as a dummy candidate, but they are actually not candidates. Believe me or not, it happens in reality. So just to observe the behavior. So if you are sitting there in the waiting lounge and you are treating people around with very disrespect, you are not conscious about the environment, you are not respectful to the property you are sitting in, so you could be observed. If not in person, somebody may be watching you through the cameras even, right? So if the role is very crucial, if the employer is very keen in hiring the most or the best candidate, the most appropriate candidate for their job, even these types of interventions are possible. So be sure about conducting yourself very well at every encounter, with everyone. Win them over the authenticity and positivity is the 14th number point, which means when you are presenting your answers, you are answering to the interviewers, make sure your answer, your figures, your facts are authentic. You never know, it has been already cross-checked. You claimed something in your CV and it has already been cross-checked through verification, right? So make sure you answer very positively and you answer authentic. You do not make a vague statement. You do not make any fake statement at all. 15th number point is that you should respond truthfully to the questions which are asked. Be very, very truthful. You may accept, sorry, I have not been exposed to this kind of work. Sorry, I have not worked in this team. Sorry, that boss was very tough and I did not. Somebody may ask something by name, by situation, by value, by fact, right? Be truthful to the question which has been asked. So, responding truthfully to any question really gives you weightage, gives you importance, because it tells your character, it tells you are a reliable person, you have a good morale, you have a capacity to accept the failure, even if it was something failed. There could be a difficult question. The one of the interviews does know that you worked in a project which failed, and they just talked about that. Did you work on that project? How did it go? So you should not be saying at all that it did go very well, you guys succeeded, or and do not put blame on someone else if you were responsible, right? Own up the responsibility to the extent you think you were, right? Or if you are not sure what went wrong, you may say, I'm not sure, we could not figure out what went wrong, but these could be the possible reasons. That's fine, that's fair, isn't it? So we should be responding truthfully. Last 5 tips are, number 16, Connect answers to your skills and accomplishment. Number 7, keep your answers concise and focused. Number 18, do not speak negatively about previous employers. Number 19, ask about next steps. And last tip, number 20, send a thank you note after the interview. So let me explain these 5 points for you now. The number 16, as I said, is connect answers to the skills and the accomplishment. Friends, this is the most important task for you. During the interview, you may not get a chance where there's a direct question coming to you, where you would be able to bring out your skills, your accomplishment, especially the ones which you think they are very good and connected to the present role. So try to connect answers in a way that you bring that skill in discussion. You bring that accomplishment in discussion. Maybe you have accomplished a project, maybe you have accomplished a target, you have accomplished some process making, some product development, some R&D, whatever. Make sure you bring that skill and that accomplishment, whichever is important, during the discussion. It should come up, it should pop up in your discussion. It will really help you to get that role. The chance to get that role becomes higher if it is quoted, if the claim is quoted with the help of proven skill, proven accomplishment. The 17th number point was that you should try to keep the answers, whichever the answer you are giving, very concise and focused. People try to avoid and they will talk other things because they were not able to answer the question. I have seen it many a times. I have been the part of interview panels from ages now. And we have to be very loud in telling the candidate, please come to the question. This is not our question. So people and it has been caught very easily. Because the interviewer, there's a group of people who are just focusing on your every statement, every word you are mentioning, you are uttering. So make sure you do not try to play with that. It gives a very bad impression and no way gives you any weightage, no way gives you any mileage, and you are actually going to reduce the chance of selection if you do not answer straight, if you do not answer to the question, to the point. Number 18 was that do not speak negatively about previous employer. Most of the time this question may come, why do you want to leave the current job? If you are working, as we say, start with the present employer. So they may ask you, why do you want to leave? And there would be people who would say that it is expected, that is expected, employer treats us this opportunity is not there, this facility is not there, all those negative things. You can put up your interest, to the interviewers of joining the current company without talking about those negative things. Never ever talk negative about your past employer or the previous employer or even the current role, if you are still working. So this is a very big no, that never ever talk about negative about the employer which you had worked for in the past or the current one. And then number 19, always ask about the next step. At the concluding remarks, when you are about to end, talk that, first of all, you should be thanking for the opportunity in person before you send a mail, and then ask what should be the next step. This, if it was defined, because most of the times people send you, the hiring manager give you in writing what all steps are expected. This is step-by-step process. If you qualify, if you clear the first step, this would be the second step, third step, like that. And there's a likelihood that in that mail, in that communication which you received at the first instance, it does talk about that what is the next step after interview. Then it becomes obvious not to ask about that, right? But if that letter, that communication, that mail you received from the hiring manager and it doesn't talk about the next step after interview, then you please ask about it, maybe during the from the interviews, or if the hiring manager himself is present, from him, preferably from the hiring manager. He is the right person or she is the right person. So always talk about the next steps. And last tip is that always take a chance to say thank you. So never ever just stand and go without a courteous thank you. There are people who would say thank you because they were not able to answer very well. So they will say thank you, but by looking at the door. They will just stand, will turn their body, and then will say thank you. That thank you is no thank you, right? So make sure you present your thank you very nicely, with a smile, with the positivity, despite being the fact you think you did not fare well in the interview, right? This is a possibility that you could feel that I did not answer well, or I did not answer the questions at all, or I answered only very few questions. So make sure you thank the interview panel very well and you leave with a smile. So enter with a smile and leave with a smile by focusing on all the 20 points, and I'm sure you guys will be able to crack the interviews even you are appearing for the first time or any other time after the first one. So with this, I would like to wind up, friends. Thank you very much for being with us. Time to sign off. Thank you.